many times where we feel like we're at rock bottom in our lives, and it can be different circumstances for different people. But even though there are so many different circumstances, there are probably many out there, just like ourselves, who are going through similar things that we're going through. And in saying that, it doesn't make it a good thing because we have something in common with others who are going through something, but there are so many of us, including myself, who have taken it to the point where we are actually living it or have lived it. And to go through it sometimes makes you realize that you never want to go through that type of situation ever again. Especially if you've got a purpose to come out of it. And for a lot of people, their purpose is their children. But with me, I always think that you really need to come through it for yourself. Imagine, though, falling off a cliff and you've landed dead on the ground, body sprawled out, and you're just there, dead. But it's only spiritual. Physically, you're still alive. Physically, you're still breathing. And physically, you feel as though the world's still standing there. And there's nowhere left to go but 6 feet under. But then imagine if you're outside your body, looking down upon yourself, and maybe you are 6 feet under, but physically you're still alive. Like, what do you do now? It's all just a feeling, isn't it? This feeling of being 6 feet under. This feeling of reaching a rock bottom period in your life. This feeling that you're at an all-time low and you might never be able to get up again. I remember being there. Let me tell you how I got out of there. I went through a breakup. I had a miscarriage. I got depressed, and because of my depression, I couldn't work. And then I got drunk one night, decided to drive my car. I lost my driver's license for 2.5 years. And I remember just sitting there on the couch thinking, wow, I've just hit rock bottom. And this huge tension just began to release from my soul. And I kind of laughed to myself, and I said to my mum, wow, this is the worst situation I've ever been in my whole life. And I felt like I was outside of my dead body, looking at myself lying dead on the ground. And you know what? I felt okay. It was like I let that part of myself die. And it did. It felt good. Because like the tower moment in a tarot card reading, the whole building fell down. And instead of sitting around crying over it, I just let it all fall down. And the reason why I didn't grieve was because I had already been grieving. Before it hit, I was also going through huge amounts of anxiety. So much so that it felt like it was enough to cause a nervous breakdown. I was just waiting for that moment. But then it came. The rock bottom. You know, the rock bottom is actually a time of your life when you are at your peak. You're at the precipice of a new beginning, and it's usually a highlight of your life. At the very part where you feel as though you're falling off a cliff. And as scary as it is, it's actually an exciting time because your body and its environment and its experience is a precipice for your greatness. So a precipice is like a hiatus for the soul, or a checkpoint, or a amazing time for the soul. It's like a brief contribution to the soul and its memory as you do continue on with your soul's journey, as you continue on in your life. Meet the new you, because a new journey is beginning, and it is time for a rebirth. It's time for a renewal. It's time to get up, and really there's no room for failure, because you already failed, and there's only room for success. And what is that success, I hear? Well, that success is whatever it is you came here for. That success is the beginning of your new life. This feeling overcame me, and I needed to go through it, because if I didn't go through it, then I would never be able to go upwards. And that day of realization was an amazing day, because as soon as I realized and I let it all go, I sat there in it. And my mum was sitting there next to me, and pretty much immediately I got a phone call, and it was my old boss asking me to come back to work. Not only did he ask me to come back, but he offered a pay rise. So it was the very offer that threw my mum off her seat, because she was worried about what I was going to do financially. Call it a heaven sent from God, call it a miracle, call it whatever you want to call it. But as soon as I let go and let the universe take over, it seemed as though I was immediately attracting good energy towards me. And even though this was just one example, this kind of experience has happened to me many times. And it seems to be more of a systematic event as opposed to luck. So what are my thoughts on hitting rock bottom? I say, if one day you feel that your life has fallen apart and you seem in a situation where everything is just too far gone to overlook, how about just relaxing, sitting back, and seeing that you can let it all go? You can now sit back and think about how you can start over. And if you can't see a way out, just relax and know that you cannot get any worse than this. But know that this is actually a release from the pain. So release it. Let it go. Wipe clean the slate and start all over again. It's time for you to rise. Whatever you choose to do, let it be exactly what you came here to do, because the only way is up, because you cannot go down any further. It's like being a cat with 9 lives, but in some cases we need 199 lives. Because no matter how many times you fall, remember that you will always be able to get up again and rise. So just keep doing that. Because these points in our lives are a checkpoint. Like I said, they're a hiatus for the soul. And that soul has a journey to continue on. So keep on continuing with it. It's a new beginning, a new chapter. Your life is a whole story, a new experience. Rise up and do what you came here for. Yeah, so that was all.